In tonight's news edition, Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour hails what he describes as exemplary Jordanian-Kuwaiti ties and voices appreciation of Kuwait's support to the kingdom during recent years. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said his country will respect the UN Security Council's resolution to eradicate Syria of chemical weapons as it has complied with every treaty it signed. And in Iraq, at least 40 people are killed in a suicide attack south of Baghdad, while in Erbil, a series of explosions leaves 6 people dead and some 36 wounded. Good evening and welcome to the news at 10. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour hailed what he described as exemplary Jordanian-Kuwaiti ties and voiced appreciation of Kuwait's support to the kingdom during recent years. In a meeting here in Amman with Kuwaiti Parliament Speaker Marzouk al-Ghanem, the Prime Minister conveyed Jordan's gratitude to the Kuwaiti Emir Sheikh Sabah al-Ahmad al-Sabah for assisting Jordan during economic hardships, especially following the influx of Syrian refugees. Mansour also praised the Kuwaiti democratic and parliamentary experience in light of recent elections. During the meeting, Mansour briefed the delegation on Jordan's reforms and constitutional amendments aimed at enhancing democracy. He also briefed them on the Syrian refugee situation in Jordan, now hosting over 500,000 displaced people who fled Syria, in addition to an estimated 750,000 Syrians already living in the kingdom before the conflict. Separately, Senate President Taher al-Masri met with the Kuwaiti Parliament Speaker and discussed with him means of enhancing cooperation between the two countries' parliaments. Separately, the Kuwaiti delegation held talks with Jordanian lawmakers on means of furthering cooperation and the need to take a common stand on regional issues, namely violations against holy Muslim sites in Jerusalem. During the meeting co-chaired by Lower House Speaker Saad Hai al-Srour and Kuwait's National Assembly Speaker Marzouk al-Ghanem, the two sides agreed to issue a joint statement reflecting their stand on major issues affecting the region. Jordan has submitted a strongly worded petition to the concerned Syrian authorities after a Syrian shell fell inside Jordan's territory last Thursday. State Minister for Media Affairs and Government spokesperson Mohammed Momani said the Foreign Ministry handed over to the Syrian Embassy in Amman a petition in which it stressed the importance of taking necessary measures to prevent any recurrence of such an incident in the future. The petition said the Syrian shell that struck the Al-Falah Mosque in Ramtha fell during clashes between Syrian government forces and the Free Syrian Army near the Jordanian border. The shell caused no injuries but wreaked some material damage. The Syrian president said his country will respect United Nations accords on chemical weapons. Speaking to Italian television station Rai News 24, on whether Syria would comply with the UN resolution, Bashar al-Assad said it was his country's will to do so. On Friday, the UN Security Council adopted a resolution that demands the eradication of Syria's chemical weapons, but does not threaten atomic punitive actions against Assad's government if it does not comply.
Join the international agreement for preventing the use and acquirement of chemical weapons before that resolution came to light. The main part of the Russian initiative based on our will to do so. So it's not about the resolution, actually it's about our will. Of course, we have the will because in 2003 we had a proposal in the United Nations, in the Security Council, to get rid of those weapons in the Middle East, to have a chemical weapon free zone in the Middle East. So, of course, we have to comply. This is our history, to comply with every treaty we sign.
On the ground, a government air raid struck a high school in the rebel-held city of Raqqa in the country's north, killing at least 16 people, most of them students. Fighting was also reported in provinces across the country, including the southern Dir'a province and on the outskirts of the capital, Damascus. On the outskirts of the capital, an attack by rebels on military bases in the Qalamun area killed at least 19 people. Meanwhile, UN weapons inspectors in Damascus continued their investigation of alleged chemical attacks in the country. The team is expected to issue a report on Syria's chemical weapons by late October.
Blood spills on the streets of northeastern Syria as at least 9 people are killed as a school comes under attack. The city of Raqqa has been under rebel control since March, but has faced ongoing airstrikes from government forces. The video, which cannot be independently verified, comes as the death toll in Syria has already topped 100,000 and is expected to go higher. Also Sunday, UN weapons inspectors left their Damascus hotel as they continue their fact-finding mission. Inspectors returned to Syria Tuesday to continue investigations into allegations of chemical weapons use. They are due to complete their work in Syria on Monday. On Tuesday, experts from the Organization for the Prohibition of Chemical Weapons will begin inspecting Syria's stockpile of chemical weapons under the terms of a deal struck this month, which averted U.S. military action.
In Iraq, at least 40 people were killed and 50 others wounded when a suicide bomber blew himself up inside a Shiite mosque in Musayyab, south of Baghdad. The victims were mourning the death of a man killed by militants a day earlier. The blast brought down the ceiling of the mosque, and police said they were still trying to retrieve bodies trapped under the debris. It was not immediately clear who was behind the bombing, which is the latest in a spat of attacks targeting both Sunni and Shiite places of worship, especially during funerals. And in the Iraqi Kurdish capital of Erbil, 6 people were killed in a series of explosions outside a security directorate. At least 36 people were wounded in the explosions, most believed to be members of the Iraqi Kurdish security forces. Television footage showed the charred remains of what appeared to be at least 2 car bombs, and gunfire was heard at the scene following the explosions. There was no indication of who was behind the attack, which occurred a day after results of the region's parliamentary elections were announced. 4 Israelis, 2 of whom are Jewish settlers from the occupied West Bank, were caught red-handed as they were throwing concrete blocks at tombstones in a Christian cemetery in Jerusalem. According to police, the men aged between 17 and 26 are suspected by Israeli authorities of vandalizing several mosques and monasteries in the past few years. Several of the headstones, some of which dated back to early 1900s, had had stone crosses broken off.
The 4 suspects were chased and caught on site after smashing and causing damage to a number of tombstones. Altogether 15 tombstones were damaged at the scene. Our units that made the arrests have now brought the 4 suspects into the Jerusalem police station, where they're being questioned at the moment. And we're obviously looking into the background of that incident. It seems to be a criminal incident with nationalistic motives.
Israel disclosed the arrest of a Belgian citizen on suspicion of spying for Iran. The Shin Bet intelligence service said the accused spy, identified as Belgian-Iranian businessman Ali Mansouri in his 50s, was arrested on September 11th. They added that he had entered Israel with a Belgian passport under the name Alex Mans and had planned to establish commercial ties with Israeli businesses as a cover for intelligence gathering and terrorist activities. Mansouri was found with photos of sites throughout Israel, including the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv. There was no official Iranian comment on the spy, but Iranian state TV called the arrest an attempt at anti-Iranian propaganda by Israel. Twin blasts in the northwestern Pakistani city of Peshawar killed 33 people and wounded 70, a week after bombings at a church there killed dozens. The blast outside a police station hit an area crowded with shoppers known as the Storytellers Bazaar. Police said they thought at least one of the explosions in the city close to the Afghan border had been caused by a car bomb. There was no immediate claim of responsibility. When people break the law, they go to jail. But when one breaks traffic laws in Dubai, the cars go to motor jail. High punitive fees for breaking traffic laws in Dubai have led to an increasing number of cars impounded. Thousands of cars are held in motor jails for various reasons, ranging from being investigated by the Interpol for theft to bankruptcy or financial disputes, or the more commonly seen speeding racing, crossing the traffic light. Dubai has some of the highest fines for traffic disturbance, like a $1,600 ticket for speeding on crosstown main roads. Cars that are not claimed 6 months after related cases had been concluded will go on auction. To France and the Paris Fashion Week, where Kenzo presented its Spring-Summer 2014 collection. The predominant theme was aqueous, as models walked into the runway from behind an artificial waterfall, showing a cool, breezy beach-inspired, ready-to-wear line fused with sharp cuts and tailoring. The collection itself was loose and airy, featuring laser-cut jackets in cotton or leather, three-quarter pants, and skirts with multiple slits. Multicolored sleeveless printed tops were paired with skirts, shorts of three-quarter trousers with graphic crisscross hand-drawn aqua motifs. Models wore slick but wispy hair, sporting fresh summery colors, lots of whites, blues, light yellows with classic blacks and reds. We begin with the Spanish La Liga that saw Real Madrid lose and Barcelona win. The 1-0 defeat of Real Madrid to Atletico Madrid was their first in the league this season and their first under manager Carlo Ancelotti. It was also the first time Ancelotti beat Real in 14 years, proving there will be a Real threat in the La Liga title race. Diego Costa struck in the 11th minute of the match at the Bernabeu, and neither Gareth Bale nor Cristiano Ronaldo were able to target Atletico's goal. Real Madrid's loss opened up a 5-point gap with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid. In an earlier match, Barcelona beat Almeria 2-0. Lionel Messi opened the scoring for Barca in the 21st minute, and in the 56th minute, Adriano netted the second goal. Barca and Atletico have set club records by staying perfect through 7 rounds to the start of the season. The Sochi 2014 Winter Olympic torch was lit in ancient Olympia, Greece, heralding the start of what will be the longest torch relay for any Winter Games, including a trip to space. Sochi, the first Russian city to stage the Winter Olympics, will receive the flame on October 5th after a short relay in Greece to kick off a 123-day odyssey, culminating in the opening ceremony on February 7th.
Medal winner, Beijing 2008 sailing.
And finally, a quick look at the weather. Cool tonight in most regions and fair in the Jordan Valley and Aqaba. As for tomorrow, a slight rise in temperatures expected, so it will be moderate in most regions, but relatively hot in the Jordan Valley and desert areas. Winds will be northeasterly, changing to northwesterly moderate. The Gulf of Aqaba should expect relatively hot conditions with northerly moderate to brisk winds and calm seas. Next are the lows and highs for tonight and tomorrow. To end the news, here's a reminder of our top stories. Prime Minister Abdullah Mansour hails what he described as exemplary Jordanian-Kuwaiti ties and voices appreciation of Kuwait's support to the kingdom during recent years. Syrian President Bashar al-Assad said his country will respect the UN Security Council resolution to eradicate Syria of chemical weapons, as it has complied with every treaty it signed. And in Iraq, at least 40 people are killed in suicide attacks south of Baghdad, while in Erbil, a series of explosions leaves 6 people dead and some 36 others wounded. With that, we come to the end of tonight's news. I'm Nancy Khair. Thank you for watching. Have a good night.